Right, what's going on? I just posted the most recent video today, and today turned out a little bit differently than I was hoping that it would. I drove to Columbus, Ohio today to get tattooed, and I was gonna stay out there, but I got done at like 2:30, and I figured I would just come home tonight. I'm not gonna get the money back for the Airbnb, but that's fine, it was cheap enough. I figured I'll just go to work tomorrow for some overtime because it's always useful. But I got the tops of my shoulders outlined today, which ain't fun. Anyway, I don't have a ton of time, so I figured I would just blow through 7 records relatively quickly. The video that I posted today was almost 40 minutes long, so I've got to cut it down a little bit from that. Not everybody likes the long videos. So let's see if we can do this in a timely manner. Firstly, this is what we're listening to, the new Blackmagic SS record. This was in the video that I posted today. The CD, or the LP version was in the video rather, but we're listening to the CD version today. Okay, so this video is all over the place, no theme or anything like that. I have some old stuff, I have some new stuff, I have a couple first presses that I'm going to talk about, and we're going to start with one of the first presses. This is the second album from one of my favorite, like, thrash bands. This is Carnivore with Retaliation. This is a 1987 Road Racer Records press of the second full-length from Carnivore. The debut Carnivore album, the self-titled one, is probably my favorite, like, thrash album ever. I'm not super duper big into thrash. I've been more into it over the last year than I ever was before, but the debut album, I can't get enough of that record. I love it. And I do have a first press of that one too, but I just figured I would talk about this one because I listened to it recently. So this is the final release from Carnivore, and soon after became Typo Negative, obviously. But this record is packed to the brim with really, really good riffs, a lot of like tongue-in-cheek lyrics. I love Peter Steele's vocal style here. There's a lot of kind of diversity, but they're very distinctly Peter Steele vocals. Most of it, he sounds very angry. Musically, the record is mostly pretty fast. There's a lot of chants on these songs here. I think my favorite track on here is probably Inner Conflict. It's the 6th track on the record. Jesus Hitler is a good song as well. Yeah, I don't know, I love it. And I really don't need to talk too much about the music because I think you guys probably all know Carnivore. But I love the album cover. Really, really cool. They kind of changed this a bit for like subsequent represses. I'm pretty sure that there were represses with this original cover, but I'm not exactly sure when. I don't know if they were like the immediate represses or if they were later on. But I really like the album cover here. The back cover, there, just a shot of the band. You got all the track listing and stuff at the bottom, and like I said, put out through Road Racer Records. This does include the original inner sleeve with all of the lyrics, and another shot of the band right there. And the vinyl itself is just black, and there are your Road Racer labels. So a really fun record from front to back. I know that Typo Negative is not necessarily everybody's thing, but I have a feeling like most thrash fans like the 2 Carnivore albums. And I think that this one is probably the fan favorite. I prefer the debut just because I heard it first, I think. But I love both of these records, but for now, give this one a shot if you haven't heard it. That's Carnivore with Retaliation. Alright, so we're just gonna kind of bounce all over the place here. Last time I talked about some Grindstone Records releases, and I'm gonna talk about one again right here. This is Old Nick with Ghost O'Clock. This is the 9th EP from Old Nick, and the only release that came out in 2022, which, for anybody who kind of knows, Old Nick is pretty prolific, or at least they were for the first couple of years. But 2022, there was only one release, and it's this one here. And I would say that this EP is home to a couple of my favorite old Nick tracks. I absolutely love A Witch's Bike in the Forest and the song Spooky Wicker Basket 1994. This is definitely old Nick being as like sort of cartoonish as possible, but I've always loved that about this project. I love the sort of like techno-y elements, if you want to call it that, on A Witch's Bike in the Forest. And both that track and Spooky Wicker Basket, they both have some of like the best melodies of any old Nick tracks. It's almost like very digital sounding synths in parts of this EP, but I really love it. And I also like the spooky like interlude on here. The fourth track, Wrinkling Crinkling Sounds in Your Room. It's very cool, and it's a very cool way to break up the first and second half of this thing with 3 tracks on either side of the interlude. But I'm really not cluing anybody into old Nick. It's one of those things, you either already know it and you hate it, or you already know it and you love it. So I'm not cluing anybody in. So I'm just going to show what this looks like. There is the cover. It's like a cartoony drawing of like a ghost in a boot. There's the back cover right there with Abysmal Spectre. You have all the track listing, put out through Phantom Lore. This does come with an obi strip, rainbow and like Japanese on it. This is numbered, I have number 73 out of 100. And this is the rainbow splatter version, which is honestly one of the nicest looking records in my collection. I love that. Looks really, really good. And there's the other side with the ghost on the label. Very nice. So this is basically just for the people who already like old Nick, because I'm not talking to anybody new into going to check this project out at this point. I love this shit. Maybe you will too. Give it a shot. That's Ghost O'Clock. Moving right along, this is something that I am absolutely thrilled to see finally put to vinyl. This has been one of my very favorites in terms of brutal death metal since I got into like extreme metal. This is Putrid Pile with collection of Butchery. So Putrid Pile is a one-man brutal death metal project from somewhere in Wisconsin. And this is the debut album from 2003. Putrid Pile formed as like a project, or I guess was like created as a project back in 2000, I think it was. And I believe the Bleed for Me demo came out in 2001. I think this was the first Putrid Pile release that I ever heard. And this was definitely like one of my favorite projects, probably like 12 or 13 years ago. And I never really got over how much I love the first few Putrid Pile records. And I'm absolutely thrilled to see this one get put to vinyl. This might not be my favorite of the early Putrid Pile stuff, but it shows me that there is like an interest in Putrid Pile material being put to vinyl, and that's enough for me to hold out some hope that the other records will be given the vinyl treatment at some point. So this band deals mostly in full-length material. The only exceptions was the Bleed for Me demo. And then there was 2 splits. There was the split with Disgracia and the split with Viral Load. So this thing has like memorable tracks all over it, dude. The song Drenched in Gasoline, fantastic. The song Gallery of Horrors. The song Shit Body Painting might be my favorite on this record. Severed Head Memento, Held Captive for Torture. Like, I love this record from front to back. There are all sorts of like different... Sean from Putrid Pile has a few different vocal styles, and he kind of uses all of them in each song here, and I really love it. The highs, the lows, and then the deep, like, gurgly lows that are really fucking cool. The drums are programmed, but it's not, like, super distracting or anything. The lyrics are vile and perverse. I love this record. But, anyway, let me show you what this looks like. There's the album cover. I'm not really a fan of this style of art that a lot of like early 2000s brutal death metal bands were using. It's honestly not too much better now, but I mean, this is pretty absurd, especially like, look at that guy's face. There's the back cover right there. There's Sean when he still had that killer mustache. All the credits and stuff like that on the back. This is put out through Vinyls of the Mutilated, which I believe is an Italian label. And there were 100 copies of the press in full. But the red vinyl, which is what I have here, was limited to 30 copies. So super stoked to get in early and get one of these. Like I said, man, I really want to believe that it's not an impossibility that the other Putrid Pile albums, like Collection of Butchery being the first one, like that all the way up to Blood Fetish, I'd love every one of those records on vinyl. Brutal death metal's not for everybody, but if you happen to like it and you've never heard Putrid Pile for some strange reason, absolutely give it a shot. This shit is fantastic. Putrid Pile, Collection of Butchery. Let's get back into more kind of like straightforward death metal type stuff. This is a band that I don't really talk about much on this channel, despite being a really big name in death metal. This is Immolation with Close to a World Below. This is the 4th Immolation album from 2000. This is an original press of this one on Metal Blade Records. I really love this record. I like pretty much everything I've ever heard from Immolation, but it's never been a band that I've like really kept up with. Like, I saw Immolation live like over a decade ago, and pretty much since then I like this band. I just don't really feel much of a need to like keep up with new stuff. And also, like, Immolation is kind of one of those bands that I feel like if you have one of the records, you kind of have all of them. And that might be unfair. I don't know this band as well as maybe some of you guys do. I've probably heard every album. If I haven't, then it would be a more recent one. But I'd love to have the first 3, like first presses of the first 3 on vinyl too. Now that I have this one. But this band's been around forever, man. Like sometime in the late 80s, 88, 87, 88, something like that. And I really admire like the kind of like methodical guitar work that this band does on most of the records, at least most of the ones that I've heard. And some parts of it, like it feels kind of like doomy and almost like groovy, and like you can't help but kind of nod your head along with it. Ross, the vocalist, has a very distinct vocal style, and the lyrics are decipherable. Like you can hear what the vocalist is saying, which I always like. I don't always need that, but I always like it when that is like a characteristic. This thing's got guitar solos all over it. It's a very like, it's a monster of a death metal album. Like it feels like a hateful record, and I really like it, and I'll make it a priority to get some more of the early Immolation stuff soon. So I'll show you what this looks like. The album cover is honestly, it's a pretty classic album cover. I really like this. I think like Dawn of Possession probably has the best of the album covers, but this is a really good one as well. There's the back cover right there. You got a dove with the wound in its chest. All the track listing on the back, like I said, put out through Metal Blade Records. This does include the original inner sheet with all of the lyrics, and on this side you have a shot of each of the band members, and I can't get enough of, no, it's this. That guy's fucking face. The vinyl itself is just black, and the labels are quite simple, you get the idea. Anyway, yeah, I think everybody knows Immolation, so again, this is kind of just mentioning that I have it. I don't know. But this is a banger, and if you haven't heard it, you should probably listen to it. That's Immolation with Close to a World Below. Moving on, this is another first press of a thrash metal record. This is I don't know if it's like more classic, but it's definitely as well known, at least, as the Carnivore record that I talked about earlier. This is Infernal Majesty with None Shall Defy. So this band formed in like 85 or something like that, 86. This is the debut album from 1987, same year as the Carnivore record. This record comes out swinging, like right off the bat with a guitar solo. and that guitar solo leads like directly into this really groovy riff, and it's just such a cool way to start an album. This record, in terms of the riffs almost sound like death metal riffs, and it's very cool because it definitely has that like mid-late 80s thrash feel to it. This record is chock full of like really cool vocal patterns. I like the song, it might just be the title track, None Shall Defy. There's some really cool vocal patterns in that song, and for the most part the vocals are pretty like fast-paced. There are some slower moments on here as well. There's a song called Anthology of Death on here, which is kind of a slower track. And it just adds nice contrast when most of the album is pretty fast. Yeah, I mean, it's classic, man. You really don't need me to go too much into this one, so I'm not going to. This album has an extremely silly album cover, though. I mean, like it really is like notorious for how kind of silly it is. And the music really doesn't match the kind of silliness of the album cover here. But because of how like sort of classic it is, I do kind of like it, even though it is undeniably dumb. This thing is not in perfect condition. You can tell it had a sticker on there at some point. It's got the normal ring wear or whatever, but honestly, I think that kind of adds like something to these old records. So I absolutely don't mind. I almost prefer it. But there's the back cover. Just a bunch of shots of the band members. I love the back cover of this thing. Actually, again, Road Racer Records. There is the inner sleeve. You have all of the lyrics. And another shot of the band on the other side. Yeah, dude. So, the vinyl itself is just black, as is the case with most of these first presses. But still figured you'd like to see the labels. So, if you're a fan of thrash metal, you definitely already know this one. I'm happy to have a copy of it in the collection, because this album's a fucking banger. If you have not heard this, definitely give it a shot. That's Infernal Majesty with None Shall Defy. Okay, we got two more, and both of these are going to be newer records. And they're both very different from each other, which I did to keep it interesting. The first one that we're going to talk about here is a demo that came out in 2021, I think. And this project is from Russia. This, okay, you're going to have to bear with me a little bit here. Because this does not even use the same alphabet that I know, the pronunciation that I have heard is like Leshy or Leshy? It's something like that. And Google Translate says that translates to goblin from Russian. And I don't know how to pronounce the title of this demo, but it translates to Filthy Dreams. So, I got the taped version of this around the time it came out. Maybe a little bit after. I tried to grab the first and second press, like vinyl presses of these, but they were never anywhere in the States as far as I saw, so I just kept missing them. And then they would be kind of expensive, and every one of the vinyl presses so far have looked different, like the layouts have all been different. But I actually really love this album cover, so I'm kind of glad that I got the version that has the album like this on the front. Anyway, this is very lo-fi black metal, but this is really, really good at keeping it interesting with lots of really nice melodies. I love, like, there's creepy, like calm, creepy parts in almost every song on this thing. The first track has a really, really cool, like, acoustic part with the vocalist, well, it's actually just one guy, with the guy's, like, really pained sounding vocals over top of, like, the acoustic guitar. It's so cool. This thing has some really great energy. It's got a lot of aggression. Which works really nicely with like the lo-fi production. There's really good riffs on this thing as well. Lots of great melodies, like I said. Like this is like a fucking 10 out of 10 in terms of like raw black metal. If you like raw black metal, this is absolutely, like, this will do it for you. This shit's awesome. Like I said, fucking love this album cover. Very cool. I think it was Horrible Room did like white shirts with just this on it, and I would really have liked to have one of those, but I don't even know when they went up for sale anywhere. The back cover there, this was put out through New Era. I think it was New Era. Shit, it doesn't say that here, but I'm almost certain that this was put out through New Era. Anyway, you have all the track listing, the I guess band logo, and the album title there. This does not come with anything. The vinyl itself is black, the labels are black. So the dead wax has a little etching that mentions which side is which. Besides that, it is just black vinyl. Yeah, if you haven't heard this, you really should give it a shot. That's Leshy with Filthy Dreams. And finally, we're gonna end it here with a melodic death metal record. This, I just heard about this. This is Grenadier with Trumpets Blare and Blazing Glory. So, Grenadier is a Canadian band. I think Nova Scotia, and this band is basically brand new. I think the first release was a demo from it was 2021. And this is the debut full-length album from last year in 2022. So basically, to best describe this, this is melodic death metal that literally just borrows the entire Argo-Slint playbook. Like, if you like Argo-Slint, it's literally not possible for you to not love this. Like, this is like melodic death metal done masterfully. Basically, like there are riffs on here that got stuck in my head on first listen, and there's parts of this record that I'll just think about throughout the day. It's really, really good shit. This thing has got blasting drums, like throaty, kind of almost airy growls, loads of memorable riffs. The bass is super audible. I mean, like, this is a very promising band. And if you've ever, like, you know, kind of liked Argo-Slint, but you hate dog shit ideologies, then I think Grenadier will probably be right up your alley. Yeah, I mean, there's really not much more to, like, say about the music itself, because I think you probably get the idea. I love this, man. There's the album cover. This band's got a really cool logo, and I like this style of art being used as an album cover. There's the back cover right there. You have all the track listing. This is put out through Drakkar Productions. This does include the lyric sheet, and the lyrics are in English, just so you know. The vinyl itself is, again, just black, and the labels are like that. Undeniable banger. I would definitely recommend giving this one a shot if you like melodic death metal. If you hate melodic death metal, this isn't going to change your mind. If you like Argo-Slint, this is going to, like, tickle your fancy big time. I really like this. I'm very, very curious to see whatever this band does next, because this shit's awesome. Give it a shot. That is Grenadier with Trumpets Blare and Blazing Glory. That's it. I think I got through this in a pretty good time. So I'm gonna see what I edit this down to. Hopefully it'll be below 30 minutes. It should be. But thank you for sticking around. I told you I'd be back sooner rather than later. I can't continue to make that promise, but we'll see what happens. So yeah, thanks for sticking around, y'all. Talk soon. Later.